to JMU Journalism TV. The headlines this Tuesday lunchtime. Police step up patrols after gunmen target the same house in Merseyside twice in 3 days. Hundreds of people in Liverpool show their anger at government plans for a so-called bedroom tax. And 10 years after her son was murdered, Andrew Jones's mother begs his killers to come forward. But first, police on Merseyside have stepped up their patrols in the Maghull area of the city after gunmen targeted the same house twice in 3 days. No one was injured in the latest attack, but 2 properties in Fernbank were damaged when shots were fired. Front windows were shattered at one house and another home nearby was also affected. Natalie Romero reports.
Police on Merseyside are keen to reassure the public following this latest shooting in Maghull. They talk about a wall of silence around those responsible, leaving many nearby families frightened for their safety.
Anybody who's involved in crime takes a chance with the law and the law intervening in what they're doing. Anybody using firearms puts themselves at the head of the list to be targeted for that activity. So we put ourselves in this area because groups in this area are involved in firearms, and we're going to be here for as long as it takes to stop those offences happening.
Last night, police were keen to urge young people not to join gangs with a history of violence.
With the budget due tomorrow, it's expected that more austerity measures will be announced, including high taxes and cuts to welfare benefits. The government's so-called bedroom tax has caused anger amongst many families. More than 60 protests have taken place in cities across Britain. Here in Liverpool, hundreds of people have been on the streets to voice their opinion. The government's tax on spare rooms has drawn widespread criticism from opposition and affects over 10,000 people in Liverpool alone. On Sunday, hundreds of people marched to Liverpool's Derby Square to take part in a national day of protest against the measure.
I had a 3-bedroomed house. I'm registered disabled, I've got severe epilepsy, osteoporosis of the spine, various other medical problems. Last August, my landlord, Liverpool Mutual Homes, installed a vertical lift because it was dangerous for me to go up and down the stairs in my house because due to falls, etc. But realistically, as from April the 1st, I've got to start paying £11.61 for a room that is not a room. It works out just over £650 a year. I'm only on disability benefits. I can't afford that. I think it's gone really well. You know, you've got the minority who tried to turn it into a political protest. It's not a political. This is a people's protest.
They are trying to divide and rule. That is what they're doing. They're setting people, as you've seen today, they're setting groups against each other with the policies that they're drawing up. They're taking the poorest in society and they're using them to shoulder the burden of the austerity cuts. And as Maria Eagle said, there's thousands of millionaires going to be given a tax cut of £100,000 on the same day as they're bringing in the bedroom tax for the poorest and the most vulnerable and disabled in society.
As the Deputy Mayor here in Liverpool City Council, we are determined to keep the fight going. We passed a resolution at the council meeting last week and we are working with our MPs to keep the pressure up nationally. We are finding that their government is on the run on this issue. They have made concessions, rightly, in relation to foster carers and in relation to families with disabled children this week. And as more and more elements of this unfair tax are brought to the fore, we believe that they will increasingly retreat and hopefully it will result in the abolition of this unfair tax.
Now, it's rumoured that Chancellor George Osborne will be revealing an increased tax allowance and cheaper fuel prices in a bid to win voters for the next general election. We've been speaking to the people in the region about what they want from the budget. Nicole Addy reports.
George Osborne will announce the government's budget tomorrow, which is expected to contain several new austerity measures. Experts have said that it is likely that alcohol and cigarette prices will rise, while also suggesting that the cost of fuel will go down.
Anybody making less than £15,000 a year should pay tax whatsoever, and we think that anybody making more than £100,000 tax could pay double. What the TUC want to happen is we want to see an investment in people. We want to see more houses built so we can get the building workers back to work. Where I want to see them build houses, particularly 1 and 2-bedroomed houses, because we have got a shortage of 1-bedroomed houses in this country.
But did you always hit the working class people all the while? You know, they hit the working class people, so, you know, it's not really fair. I mean, do you know, they're talking about this bedroom tax now? That's disgusting, that. You know what I mean? How many bedrooms have they got in number 10?
I think it's quite a good idea if tuition fees are sacked, because I think as a student you have enough to cope with already. I think that would be helpful, and there should be more funding actually for students, especially from low-income backgrounds.
We don't get enough money, and pensions over the years, they haven't kept up with inflation.
Chancellor Osborne says that the 2013 budget will help those affected by the recession and those who want to work hard and save their money.
A deal has been struck between the three main political parties on how to regulate the press in the wake of the phone hacking scandal. An independent regulator will be set up by a royal charter, but there have been a range of views on whether it would be underpinned by law. A debate was held in the House of Commons yesterday to iron out the final details. This follows an inquiry led by the new Chancellor of this university, Lord Justice Leveson. These are the main changes announced yesterday. There'll be an upfront apology to victims of press intrusion, fines of up to £1 million, a new self-regulatory body for the press, a robust professional journalism code, a free arbitration service for victims, and a new system set up to deal with complaints. Joining me now is Professor Chris Frost, who gave evidence at the inquiry as Chairman of the Ethics Council of the National Union of Journalists. Thanks for joining us, Professor.
Thanks for inviting me.
Now, what's your reaction to what's been decided?
Well, it's quite interesting after quite a lengthy debate that they finally come up with something that all the parties can agree with, and I think that's the crucial point, that there is agreement throughout Parliament that this is the right way to proceed. We needed to have something that underpinned the new regulatory body, that was able to validate it and say, look, this is a satisfactory regulator, and this is one way of doing it. Since it's the one that everybody is able to agree on, it seems to me to be a satisfactory starting point.
So is this what you wanted to happen then?
Well, I didn't see a problem with having it underpinned in statute, but that clearly was a sticking point for the Conservatives, and it certainly was a sticking point for the industry. Now, whether the industry wanted or not, I'm less concerned about. I think the industry was in a position where it had given up some of the right to discuss some of this by its behaviour earlier on, and we need to reassure the public that we're able to do things properly. But if this allowed all politicians to come to an agreement, I certainly don't have a problem with it. It does do what it's supposed to do.
Now, there's a lot of complicated debate around press freedom. Can you briefly say why this matter is so important to journalists and to the public?
Press freedom is incredibly important, and I know some people have become quite concerned that this may be a way of interfering with press freedom, and it isn't. There is nothing in this Royal Charter that will prevent any newspaper from publishing anything that it wants to at any time. It merely holds them responsible for it afterwards, that they have to explain why they've done it and ensure that it sticks by the code of practice that will be agreed, and that frankly won't be all that different to the present code of practice. Freedom of expression is vital because in a democracy we have to be able to say what we believe. We have to be able to say it even if it's unpopular, even if it offends some people. And if we try and prevent people doing that at any point, then we're no longer in a democracy.
Do you feel that after more than 300 years of total press freedom that there was a change that was needed?
Well, I think there is a need for a regulatory body. I think it's slightly misleading to say we've had 300 years of total press freedom. That simply isn't true. We have always limited the press in what it can do in terms of what it says about people's reputation, in how far it can invade people's privacy, in order to protect things like the right to fair trial. So there's already a considerable amount of legislation that limits what the press can do. This is merely saying that the press ought to be accurate, it ought to behave reasonably well towards the people that it's covering, not intrude on their privacy, not intrude on some of the victims as we've seen over the last year or two. So it's a perfectly responsible way to go, and I don't think it takes the debate any further, despite what some people would have us believe.
Professor Frost, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Today marks the 10th anniversary of the start of the Iraq War. For those that lost loved ones, it's an anniversary they would rather forget. A conflict that many thought the UK should not be in. Marta Miles has been looking back.
Importance to undermine Saddam Hussein's ability to wage war.
A decade after the US and British troops rumbled into Iraq, the costs are still being counted. The total number of the UK troops killed in operations in Iraq reached 179. 19 came from the northwest. The youngest, 18 years old signaller Paul Didsbury from Blackpool. The roll call of the death touching families in villages and towns throughout our region. And as the families and friends mourn, the violence continues in Iraq.
There's concerns that an ambitious plan to regenerate Liverpool's iconic waterfront will do little to create real jobs for the people who live in the city. 3/4 of the riverside development will be new homes, but only for those who can afford the hefty price tag, Phoebe Howe reports.
The River Mersey defines the city of Liverpool. Its history is steeped in bravery and courage. Thousands of men sailed from the port in both world wars. Families and criminals left to start a new life on the other side of the world. But now, a new chapter of development is planned for the Central Docks by the owners, the Peel Group.
I just want it to be a good plan, an exciting plan, something that's going to create something of real lasting value, something that's well built, well designed, but above all, something that will connect with the rest of the city. We've had a lot of bad experiences in Liverpool of especially residential developments, which create kind of upmarket ghettos, cut off from their neighbouring communities. And here's a real opportunity with the Central Docks that Peel own to reconnect the river with communities in places like Vauxhall and Sandhills and Everton and Anfield and Kirkdale, some of the poorest communities in Britain. It's really important that whatever Peel come up with, when they eventually share their real vision with the rest of us, it's important that that plan connects with those parts of North Liverpool.
I think it can only be good for the city. Any development that happens along the waterfront seems to help the city to grow.
I think it's an amazing thing for Liverpool because I'd rather lose the title of World Heritage Site and have something that's going to create jobs and it's basically good for the city. I mean, they can only take the title away, World Heritage, but still, it's still a World Heritage Site. It's just maybe not going to have that title anymore.
Liverpool has a dubious reputation of having more families when no one is in work than anywhere else in Britain. Jobs are desperately needed. Liverpool Vision, who are trying to attract companies to invest in the site, claim the development will create around 20,000 new jobs, but nearby residents are sceptical.
Well, it's going to bring much needed investment, it's going to bring jobs, it's going to bring the opportunity to regenerate an area of the city that for far too long has been in decline. It's going to bring the opportunity to connect the communities of North Liverpool, not just the communities of North Liverpool, but certainly the communities of North Liverpool and other communities, into the jobs that will come about.
Among the plans, the highest tower block outside London in Britain, 55 stories high and 9,000 apartments. Critics say will destroy the city's World Heritage status forever and make it like many other ports around the world, like Shanghai and San Francisco.
The mother of murdered teenager Andrew Jones marched through this Mother's Day to remember her son who was killed 10 years ago. Instead of receiving flowers like most mothers, Christine Jones laid a bouquet on a plaque as she begged for her son's killers to come forward. Zoe Patel reports.
10 years on, and mother of murdered teenager Andrew Jones marched across the city in memory of her son. After years of trying to fight for justice, Christine Jones made a plea urging his killers to finally come forward.
I say to the person, if you're big enough and hard enough to do what you've done to Andrew, then be big and hard enough to take your punishment and show people that you're not as bad as you was. Because until you give up and come forward, I hope you close your eyes of a night and you see Andrew every time you close your eyes, and I hope you feel nothing but guilt, because I see Andrew every time I close my eyes, but I can't speak to him and I can't put my arms around him like your mum can do to you. So please give yourself up.
Andrew Jones was floored by a punch and fatally cracked his head on the pavement during a night out in Liverpool. His killers are yet to be caught, and after 10 years, they still walk free.
Andrew Jones was walking down the side street, a young man, his whole life in front of him. Little did he know that would be the last time he'd ever walk down any street when he met a group coming towards him. Two of those in that group, full of bravado, attacked Andrew for no reason. Left him bleeding to death on the ground. I say this to them today, on behalf of families fighting for justice. We will never, ever stop till we have you where you belong, and you belong in front of that judge, and you all belong now for perverting the course of justice, all and each and every one of you. You belong in prison.
A £10,000 reward is being offered for information leading to the arrest and prosecution of those responsible. Until then, his family have said that they will not rest.
Ministers have unveiled plans to cut the number of people in England and Wales falsely claiming their necks have been injured in road accidents. False whiplash injuries are thought to be one of the reasons why car insurance is becoming so expensive, Marta Miles reports.
Insurers estimate that whiplash claims add an extra £90 to each motor insurance policy. There are 1,500 whiplash claims made in the UK every day. They cost £2 billion a year.
Because it's so easy to make a claim, some people set up accidents so that they can then claim the money of their insurances.
The other problem is I know there have been setups too where cars have pulled out on purpose in front of someone or brake suddenly so the car behind will go into them for the purpose of getting a claim for whiplash, neck or back injuries. So there is a problem that's got to be faced.
Genuine claimants say it's simple to make a claims and get help.
It's very easy. Everything what you have to do is just contact your solicitor, and basically they're gonna arrange everything for you, including physiotherapy and additional check with GP.
From a medical point of view, it's very difficult to establish whether you have a whiplash injury.
After I call my insurance company, I complain about my pain in my low back. They arrange for me appointment with physiotherapy in Liverpool. After 8 appointments, I finish my treatment, and after that they decide to pay me about £2,000.
Justice Secretary Chris Grayling will launch a consultation on making it easier for insurers to challenge fraudulent claims following traffic accidents.
A historic building, once part of the Little Woods Pools empire, is to be turned into a new hotel after being empty for well over a decade. Liverpool City Council have given £16 million to help fund the project. Natalie Romero reports.
For more than 15 years, this historic building on Edge Lane in Liverpool has been left abandoned and in disrepair. Now Liverpool City Council plan to save the building from demolition through a £19 million scheme to transform this derelict site into a hotel. Developers Capital and Centric received approval this week for plans for the private sector regeneration to go ahead. The man behind this development, Tim Heatley of Capital and Centric, says,
Firstly, there's such little accommodation on that main arterial route in from the motorway. So anybody that's coming off the M602 won't have have much hotel choice really. So not much competition. They've recently improved the linkages between the centre and the surrounding motorway network, so that's good now that all the work's happened to Edge Lane. There's a new retail park proposed for Edge Lane as well, as it's likely to commence construction soon. So it's an improving area. There's lots of businesses and offices in the area as well, which will drive demand from people. What's great about a hotel is that the general public can go and use a hotel. They can go and get a coffee, they can stay the night if they want, the public can walk around inside it, and that was important to us. We could have turned it into apartments or offices and closed the doors on it forever to the general public, but this way it seems to be a nice balance.
The iconic building has played an important role in Liverpool history after construction before the start of the Second World War in 1938. Once Littlewoods Pool's headquarters, previous plans for the building have included redevelopment into a school. The current building houses over 200,000 square foot of space. Once complete, there will be an excess of 250,000, in an effort to bring more new business into this part of Liverpool.
Thousands of people from around the world have been in Liverpool for the city's half marathon. It was the biggest in the race's history. Sinead Cunningham was there.
3, 2, 1! The biggest in the city's history since we started the race back in 1994.
More than 8,000 runners filled the streets for Liverpool's half marathon this weekend. Eddie Mountford officially started the race, which saw runners pass Prince's Park and Sefton Park before finishing at the pier head.
I've never experienced anything like that in all my life. That was absolutely wonderful. I ran the race, I ran London marathons, but nothing compared to this today for me. It was fantastic.
Yeah, great. It's really nice conditions down there, and not too windy coming along the front, so it's all right. Yeah, awesome. The crowd at the end was amazing. I've done one other half marathon this year, and this was miles better.
I think today has been absolutely sensational, with a new course and an exceptional turnout from spectators. I mean, it's been absolutely brilliant. It's grown incrementally every year. It's organic growth, and as the profile of the event grows, as the profile of the city grows as a visitor destination, I think there was something like 62% of the entries we took were from outside the northwest region. Now that's significant. That's over 5,000, and the furthest travelled were from New Zealand, Canada, America and Brazil. We had a shed load of people coming from Brazil. Don't ask me why, I don't know. I'm just pleased that they came.
The 13-mile course saw Josh Lilly win with a time of 1 hour 6 minutes.
And here's Nicole with the sport.
Thanks, Callum. Rio Ferdinand has withdrawn from England's squad for their World Cup qualifiers against San Marino and Montenegro. The Manchester United defender has pulled out because of his pre-planned medical programme. However, at a recent meeting with manager Roy Hodgson, he confirmed that he wants to continue playing for his country. In cricket, Australian bowler Mitchell Starc is to undergo ankle surgery in an attempt to be fit for this summer Ashes tour. He returned home early from the tour of India and will miss the 4th test, which starts on Friday. And we end with horse racing. JT McNamara remains in a stable condition after suffering a fractured spine at the Cheltenham Festival last week. Thank you, and back to Callum.
And now for a quick look at the weather before we go. We're in for a mixture of sunshine and showers today, with temperatures at around 4 degrees Celsius. Tonight, more wintry showers, and it will be chilly with frost and ice, and temperatures hovering around freezing. And that's it for now. Thank you for your company. Goodbye.